Hello! And the cam is off. Not a problem! Everything can be solved. Am I right? A little bit of malfunctions, but bam. Hello. I mean, my camera is in this position. But it doesn't matter as long as on the screen is being normal. So let me check a little bit this. Bam! What's up? Minimum! Bam! Yes, the camera is okay, it's working, everything is fine. Nice, a lot of people here. Guess what are we doing on this live stream? So, because my semester is basically done, I will start sight reading and practicing a little bit the new pieces for the next semester and for the bachelor. An important step, am I right? Okay. So for this next exam and also for bachelor, because it's like the same thing that I need to play there. I need to play one sonata from the second or the third sonata from George Enescu. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. So good thing is that last year it was like the 70 years after the Enescu's death, and God bless him. And right now I don't believe that it's something copyrighted. I mean, let's see with our eyes this thing. So, okay. Okay. Bam. As you can see here, and yes, it's in Romanian, but I didn't put this for learning or reading these things. I wanted to see that when he died, Decedat died, 1955, so 2025 minus 1955, 70 years. Oh no, this year. This year. So 70 years are off. And I believe it's okay if I play this, or I could search much more.
This is
Okay. Trademark and copyright information. the brand names, product in the third time. Okay. Disclaimer. Oh man, this scroll doesn't work. Doesn't working. What the heck? Fortunately, giving credit doesn't usually help at all when it comes to using copyrighted works on the production. Okay. By playing the song, do you mean you will be performing the song? This is called marking cover song videos. Continue reading, music policies, but it doesn't say something. Okay, so I will do as I always do. Yes, I will ask ChatGPT. Enescu passed away in 1900 and most copyright laws musical works enters in the public domain 70 years after the creator's death. This means Enescu works would have entered in the public domain in 20... Oh my god. But 70 years has passed. Passed away in 1955 and under most copyright laws, musical works enter in the public domain 70 years after the creator's death. This means Enescu's works would have entered in the public domain in 2026. The full calendar year requirement in some jurisdictions. Since it's now 2025, his works are still under copyright protection. The 7th-year post-mortem rule. You would need to wait until January for his composition to be in the public domain in those regions. However, some countries have shorter terms, like 50 years. And in 2050, his works are already in the public domain, as the copyright of the composition and the performance are separate. Even the composition in the public domain. So I can get copyright if I use it in a live stream on YouTube. Yes, would could potentially receive a copyright claim if you use George Enescu's works in a live stream. Copyright status. Enescu died in, so his composition will enter in public domain. Most countries are still under copyright in those countries. Like orchestra recordings can be protected. Ah, so it's okay. Like how to avoid copyright claims. Perform the piece yourself on hire musicians. Or hire. You'd own the performance rights. Okay. Use public domain recordings. So all the recordings might also be public domain depending. Check this license. Man, I will practice this. I mean, if this is genuine because of this answer, so then fuck it, I will do it. Good. Okay. let me move a little bit the camera. Oh man. Here. I want you to see all the things very clear. I will sight read today, so I believe it's alright. I don't know. And I want to see also thing. Be right back. There it is. Where is my phone? Okay. Be right back. I want to search something. Should I play all the violin sonata or just a part of the violin sonata? Okay. So let's check some things about this violin sonata. It's Impressionism sonata, I believe. So what elements should this sonata have? I don't know, I will check it later. Yes, so this is like 9 by 4. So there are 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, kind of ternar rhythm. 72 BPM. Okay, today we are going to make a sight read, so obviously we are starting on the A string, so it's one, two, three. Okay, first of all, because I don't don't want to get on other strings, so it's here it should be notations. I believe I can put notations. So if I put this, bam, 3, 3, okay. Vă rog frumos să nu mai țipați. Mulțumesc frumos! Stai liniștit. My brothers. Okay, bam. 3. Okay, okay, bam, bam. No. 3, 3, 3. Okay, so should be like this. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Another 3. 3. Oh yeah. Okay. Guess what? Another 3. So it. Okay, and you would ask why I've put it 3, 3 there. It's not. It cannot be heard as a glissando. Well, if it was a tone like it sounds like you hear like it's a glissando, but if you do, it's much closer to that note. So that's why I chose to put 3, 3 there, because it's semitone. If it was C, Do diez, B, C sharp, you can hear it. But if it's B, C, B, C, it's not so, it doesn't sound as is a glissando. So that's why 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I believe I will put here 4, not 3. Because I don't want to change the string just for a single note. Remember, even if it's not an orchestra, it's the color of that note, of that notes, can be changed because of how you manage to put them. So for me, it sounds much more right. Yes. It sounds much more crispier. Is not is not a good term. It sounds much more metallic if I do. I think like this. If I think just like this. Each violin string, or even in violas, cellos, double basses, guitar, even guitar, why not? Each string is a timbre. Do you know that when you hear someone singing, you see that is the color is not changing, the sound quality is not changing as on an instrument with strings, like so, or I feel like the voices there, even that they have like vocal strings, they are kind of connected, so they don't sound that much different. It's it's kind of it's just like you have just a string, just a long, very long string, and you rise. It's not a difference on how the feeling of that string is changing. It's like putting another man or another female playing other notes after you played. It's kind of the same on the violin strings. You have here four, I don't know, females that are playing, but they have their turns each time. But if this matters on color. I feel some colors when I personally place my fingers and play with the violin bow. It's the color that you want to give. So one person has a color, another person has a different color because we are different, as with our strings. This is a color, and this is a other color. I mean, yes, and you can make a little bit of color if you can make a much brighter color with vibrato, but that doesn't change is that it's a different feeling. Am I right? And here, because it's pianissimo, on pianissimo in general you need to tend to make the same color. Pardon me. You need to tend to make the same color. And if you need to change much more strings, just try and make these strings sound similar. That I'm playing on the higher positions, because on the higher positions it's much colored, the sound. So if I want to play so it's okay. And because it's pianissimo, I believe I will make a colored sound, but with less pressure, and I can use kind of half of a bow, 3/4 of the bow. It depends on the passages. So if here are a lot of notes that are glued, that are how is it called when you legato? Okay, when you do a legato. You need more bow. See, it's absurd. Why? And another 4 here. Bam. 4. I feel like this here the distances are the same on fa, re bemol, mi, do is the I don't know how is it called in English, but we say sexta. Sexta minore, sexta m little m, 6 little m. So it's comfortable to do it. Pianissimo, use less strings. So here I will put a 2. So it's Okay, and here I believe I will use it the normal. One, two, three. And here is a crescendo. Hmm. What I did? What did I do? Ah, this signal. Sounds interesting. Re bemol, and I want to note it. Nope. Highlight, underline, strike though. No, this, I believe it's. And if I. Okay, so it's interesting. I will not put a flat. One, bam. I don't know where those disappears. Falaiare. Need to be visible, so bam. Visible, man. This mouse. Man, up! The fuck? Nice. Two here. again a theme. Mi becal. Four, par. Pa, pa. It says just the oh, decrescendo here. Here I believe I need to start down. Decrescendo, Cristi, decrescendo. I read it with one down, but that is not a problem. La do mi sol la ri, la mi sol. So it's 3, 2, 3, 3 trees, 2. Three trees. Two. One, 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 1, 2, 3. No, 1, 1, 1, 1. Bam! Bam. No. A little bit higher. Bam. Three, four, 3, 4, 3, 4. Bam, bam. 3, 1, da-dee-dum. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1. The same thing. Here is 1. And yes, it's so boring. Yes, it's so boring, but this process of practicing and putting all the things requires this boringness. But I get fun, I don't know. So it's Teddy do do one one bam one. And there is 4 dam 4 do re. And here is the same thing again. T, 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 t. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So tita ti tita 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 ti tita ti. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Tita ti 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 tita tita. Tinton te. Tampi. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. La, do, mi, sol, la, yes. Um, 1, 2, 3, 1. Yes, if I use bam 0 bam he. Tita 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 tita. What the heck? We dot in 4. Tita 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 tita. 4. 2. Bam. 3, 4. The same thing. Mi la da. And I don't. Stupid if you do this. Here it's 1. And obviously 4, but I want to put it here. I think I do this often. I put some signs like this, because if I put Roman 4, it's the G string. If I put the Roman 3, it's the D string. If I put the Roman 2, it's A string, and if I put one Roman, it's obviously E string. So four. Damn. God bless me, because I have brain. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. One. Okay. Three. Four. One. Oh, one, 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 and one, one, one. And one. Here it's two. Wow. Three, three, three. Down. Bam. It's a tree. It's a tree. This is clever. I don't know if it's Papa and here it's a 4. Oh, okay, good. Good. Un, due, tre, un, due, tre, pa, un, due, tre. And here it's mi, la, do, mi, and here it's Trei, un, doi, trei. Un, doi, trei. What? How much they stay on the third chord? Third chord is. I don't think like B double flat, A flat, and G flat. I think it's like A, G sharp, A, B, C, A, B, C, D, F, F sharp. No, here I will put. Here on this G flat I will put 2. And yes. Here normal on the A on the E string. Okay, and here it starts to be complicated a little bit. Opa, opa. Well, guys, I will take a break. And up, okay. Tree, trees, tree. Da re da da. La do mi sol la. Okay, I will take a break because I don't know what I'm doing. And I want to do some things. I don't know, I want to see a documentary about Enescu. If I can watch it here. Enescu. Documentary. Opa! Well. Do you know, guys, that one of my one of my I know somebody that I went there to play last year with a trio, and this guy from this city has managed to make a team and start making a movie about Enescu. Like, check this out. Man, I spoken single, man. What? Okay, so I know a guy that I went playing with an chamber music with two of my friends, colleagues from school and from a university, and we've met this person in Tecuci being one of the cities in Romania, and it's known about the fact that there, before the communism in Romania, it was the center of the intellectuals in Romania. So in that city it was like all the intellectuals, all okay, that this doesn't have a sense on what I am talking about, but it's a fact. So, and he managed to think about making a movie about Enescu, because nobody made a movie about him, and it was a personality that had a very powerful print in the history of music. Being Romanian but French composer, they made about Celibidache, they made about Mozart, they made about Beethoven, they made about Paganini, but Enescu was also a very good composer, artist, violinist. And let's see together the trailer. I believe the movie appeared in this fall, because here it says at the beginning, but let's watch it together.
Când l-am cunoscut pe Sfinxul
Okay, I want to put this to sound. Okay.
muzicii noastre, a spus că va compune o operă.
Visez tot timpul muzica. Auzi? Lasă tot ce vine cu mine.
Alice, puiule!
Poate că ar fi momentul să oficializăm despărțirea noastră și să divorțăm.
Îl iubești?
Da.
Mincinoasă! Ești din nou cu el, cu Matila! De ce l-ai chemat aici? Ai să nu mai chem niciodată aici!
Să plece toți! Acum! Să plece toți din casa mea!
It's so dramatic, man. I mean, I heard about he had a sort of relationship and marriage with this princess Marijuana, I believe, Maruca, and she was kind of bitchy with him. I mean, he was working on his projects and she wasn't loyal, and this I heard. So maybe they are genuine, these informations that I heard, or not, but on every myth there is a truth there, I believe.
Să ne întoarce tata în mormânt dacă ar ști că ne-ai dat afară din casa lui.
I don't know about this accident. I know just about a fact I heard from the music history in the university, that Enescu had a concert in Moscow at his 25 years, when it was 25 years, 30 years, I don't know exactly. And he was doing the concert, he was playing or conducting, I don't know how. And out there it was it was like some people heard some gun sounds, some tanks, like they heard like war things, and like guns, tanks, like aiming and shooting. And guess what? When he was there, it was the Bolshevik revolution, and he was in the middle of the revolution when he did this concert, and he thought, how should I manage to go back to Europe now? Like, I don't know if in Romania or if in France. So I think in Romania. Like, oh shit, I'm in the middle of the war, but I'm not Russian. What am I supposed to do? And yeah, this was the fact. I don't know. It was a premiere about a piece, I believe. And even if it was the war out there, the concert still it was on, and it was made from the beginning to finish without interruption. So this is a little bit fucked up, but wow, in the same thing. Okay.
O operă bună se aude și de pe lumea cealaltă.
This theme is so beautiful. Listen to Romanian poem by Enescu. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. He made this poem very marvelous, and even the themes inside in the middle parts, they are. He's going to a state to another state in a mysterious way, and this is genius. I believe this is genius. Okay, so get rid of this.
Undeva pe o stradă.
Okay, this is like documentary, the Romanian documentary dog shit. I don't know if it's genuine, so watch this movie. I recommend watching this movie. I don't know if I can find it on web, but I want to watch it. I don't know if I am taking copyright if I'm doing this, but I would want to watch this on on live stream. Okay, so this is like footage when it was a little child. Cristian Măcelaru, conductor, very good conductor. He conducted. He was conducting. Ray Chen when he played the Spanish Symphony by Lalo. He was like under his baguette, under Cristian Măcelaru's baguette, and he's Romanian. I don't know where he did the university, but right now I believe it's in America, and I hope one day I will play the violin with him, like under his baguette. I hope this. Okay. I want the English documentary. Holy
Pablo Casals called him the greatest musical phenomenon since Mozart, and he's been the standard bearer for Romanian music ever since. I'm the classical nerd, and today we're talking about George Enescu.
Would you like to upvote?
George Enescu was born in a small village in northeast Romania in August 1881. He was the only one of 12 children who survived infancy, which were...
Okay, sorry. I want to see this. I want you to see this. This is marvelous. Check this out. Okay. Check this out, guys. He was born in the Botoșani County, and the village is named under his name, like it's George Enescu. But in the past, okay, so in the past, the village that he was born, it was named Liveni Vârnab. Right now, if you search watch this. Here George Enescu was born. In this location. Here. Yes, and the northeast. He said very well. In the northeast. Here. It's close to Dorohoi, is like the city, the county city of Botoșani. Here. Here.
leave George with only a half-brother, the painter Dumitru Bușcu. George, Juriac to his friends and family, was overprotected as a child. Reasonably so, considering...
Yes. There was some times when... I don't know in the West Europe, but here in the East, the conditions of living in Romania, it was not so fancier than it was in the West. I mean, it wasn't that much technology, it wasn't that much, how is it called, roads and these bonds. We went kind of 15, 100, 200 years in the back against how it was the living in the West. Okay, maybe even in the West it wasn't the good conditions, but here if somebody would have a family and he would have kids, maybe possibly some of them would not resist, like it was like the natural selection ish, I don't know, but doctors, wasn't that much doctors here, wasn't that much hospitals, even in the 1910, 1920. No, I'm lying right now. It was this, but in the big cities. And if you were somebody from a village far away from a city, that had that technology, because yes, he was close to the city county, but in the past maybe that it wasn't the city county, like in the northeast of Romania. Like nobody thinks about, huh, what's there. They when they hear about a country, they hear some things, not all of them. So if you hear about Romania, you hear, okay, Bucharest, Transylvania, Bran Castle, Timișoara, Cluj, and that's it. Maybe, I don't know, the mountains, and that's it. And yes, on those parts that I said, that I enumerate, it was a lot of nobles, a lot of wealthy people that could afford to put in that village, in that city, some conditions. Even that conditions was expensive, but it was efficient. If you want a doctor near some villages, you can expect that it's not the best doctor or the best how is it called when you have a lady that stays with the woman that has that is pregnant. She needs to born the child. It was, but also with this industrial revolutions, it was pollution. I don't think that it was very it didn't put an accent on the health. Or maybe yes, if you stayed close to factories there, but in the main order I believe it was kind of the genetics and maybe on the diseases from that time. And as I said, no one could afford some doctors. Even that the father of Enescu was how is it called in English? We say in Romanian that is lăutar, fiddler. I don't know. Even that it was fiddler and he was making money by going to, I don't know, events like weddings, playing like the violin with the band, that time band, I don't know, cymbal and double bass and violin and viola, and it was a sort of viola that had 3 strings, and he was keeping kind of the chords in a way, kind of thing as guitar, but the main thing that cymbal was doing, it was keeping the rhythm. This viola with 3 strings, it was keeping the chords. And trumpets, violins was making the melody. Trumpets, some sort of recorders from that time. There was times that the technology wasn't that much higher, and even if you had all the money from the world, maybe some things you could not save. Right now, nowadays we have the technology big, and right now is less the money. But that's life.
considering the family history, and he showed an aptitude for both music and the visual arts. He took up the violin when he was 4 and was taught by Romani fiddler Nicolas Chioru, who worked exclusively by ear. He apparently threw a tantrum when his parents wanted to give him a toy violin. He insisted on the real thing, even if it had to be scaled down because, you know.
Let me check a thing because I don't know if I said something good or not. His father was a fiddler? Or it was just a normal person? Okay. Costache Enescu. Okay, but this guy. What it was his occupation? Like, it was a musician, or it wasn't a musician, or maybe let's just play this, and I will shut up.
He was still small. Later he would claim that as a kid he rarely listened to any music, but he still wanted nothing more than to be a composer. His first surviving pieces date when he was 5, and his compositional career really began then when he A. first gained access to a piano, and B. began learning how to read music. He got advice from Eduard Caudala, who was a composer and violinist, and at that point the director of the Iași Conservatory. Enescu showed such talent that he was admitted to the Vienna Conservatory when he was 7 years old, again on Caudala's advice, when the Vienna Conservatory preferred to take students who were at least in the double digits of age. When he got there, he was notable for not just his young age, but also not being Austrian. While there, he absorbed the music of both Johann.
Man, I heard a thing that when he went to these auditions to enter in the Vienna Conservatory, University of Music, Vienna Conservatory Academy, I don't know how is it called. He was staying with he went at 8 years old, 9 years old, or
On a conservatory when he was 7 years old.
7 years old, okay. And he was staying with others that had, I don't know, 18 years old, 20 years old, as should somebody that finished the music's elementary should go. And all the future composer there went with one, had 2, 3 compositions, maybe 4. And when he went, Enescu went, he had like I don't know, he had a lot. Like when I say a lot, it was like this big, the stack of how much scores he did. I mean,
again on Caudala's advice, when the Vienna Conservatory preferred to take students who were at least in the double digits of age. When he got there, he was notable for not just his...
Yeah, this was something like obvious. The music, the idea of music knowledge and to have like a grade or something like that, it wasn't genuine on that time, and it wasn't like something so important as medicine or I don't know, engineering. It wasn't that important, and that's why.
His young age, but also not being Austrian. While there, he absorbed the music of both Johannes Brahms and Richard Wagner, loving them both even though tensions between the pro-Brahms and pro-Wagner factions were as heightened as ever. Early admittance means early graduation, and even though the curriculums are a lot different back then as compared to modern academia, Enescu graduated from the conservatory when he was only 12 years old. He would continue his studies, however, in Paris between 1895 and 1899, continuing in the dual fields of violin playing and composition, and studying the latter under Jules Massenet and Gabriel Fauré. For Enescu, violin playing was subservient to composition, and he said that he didn't actually give his violin playing all that much thought. While he enjoyed the violin and was almost inhumanly good at it, he objected to the term violin virtuoso. He thought the term virtuoso carried with it all this negative baggage and connotations which denoted something like hard labor. Part of this was he did not like taking lessons with Martin Pierre Marsic, so much so that he failed a competition in 1898 and nearly gave up on the violin entirely. He'd broken a finger the previous year and had enjoyed his newfound free time to compose. He didn't like the piece he had to play, Giovanni Battista Viotti's Violin Concerto No. 29 in E minor, but after talking to esteemed composer and elder statesman of the Petit Conservatoire, Camille Saint-Saëns, he pressed on and won the next year on the back of Saint-Saëns' Violin Concerto No. 3 in B minor. Enescu would continue to have a love-hate relationship with his instrument for the rest of his life. He disliked being known just as a performer and was deeply reluctant to take on the mantle of virtuoso, but he also,
Well, after a period of being a performer or studying as a performer, I learned that the things that you do here on university are nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. And yes, you get a lot of pressure, you get a lot of enemies, you get a lot of useless mind things, useless thoughts, that after you finish that, you will not fear this, you will not feel these things anymore. Or maybe you could fear because the universities nowadays, I don't know in the West, okay, I don't know in the West, I just know from Romania, they give us traumas, a lot of traumas. Here the ambient is not relaxed. When I went to the exams, I felt like I was in a state of alert, in a state of if I was in danger. And I don't have a fear playing the violin in the face of other people. But I had a state of not precaution, and not fear. I wasn't feared. I didn't fear the professor there, but I was feeling like something could happen. And this state is not building a good interpretation. It's destroying it. Trust me, I did it, even if I have proofs that I practiced in the face of the camera, in the live streams. This shit happened. And this fear should not exist, should not be implemented in the minds of all the instrumentists that are finishing the studies there, here. It's a stupid thing. It's a stupid thinking that after you stayed and learned and practiced for about 15 years, 16 years, you finish there with problems and not being on your feet, ready for action, for everything. It's stupid. This is very stupid. Like I started feeling in danger. I started feeling very stressed. And no wonder even Enescu did this. Like he wasn't enjoying it because the violin professors. No, I don't think that nowadays is the same, but that time it didn't give him a feeling of accomplishment, of a feeling of good. Like, okay, I need to do these pieces. But you need to do with the bow like this. You need to stay with the hand like this. You need to place the fingers like this, and you need to stay. And you need to press it like this, and you need. Shut the fuck up, okay? Shut the fuck up. I can go there and play with joy. Why should I go then playing if I don't have a joy playing? I go there without joy. And this is facts. And it's a very facts. You go there playing without joy. What the fuck is wrong with you? Professors. You teach students to go without joys. You need to do it because you are playing like an amateur. And in Romania, we have some terms about you are playing like an amateur. We have these terms, văcar and bocciu. And these are like insults, like, I don't know. Okay, I want to give some genuine examples, but it's like I saying that you are playing bad, but in a way that I am saying like go and do other job. You are not good on this. Like that feeling is like you are trash. Go and switch your career. Like it's feeling like this. I started doing these live streams because I felt like I have joy to do this. Right now I have joy to practice the violin. I mean, yes, it's overwhelming sometimes, but I don't care. Like I stay and watch with you some things. And that's it.
Like, legitimately enjoyed playing.
I don't know, man. I stayed and talked with an Argentinian conductor the last week, and he said the same thing. It's like in the West, the situation about playing with joy or not comes like it's not so much pressure that it is here in the East Europe. Here, okay, you can put your technique in order, okay, but there is not so tensed. There you can play with joy, and when he went and make the concert here, I felt a very calm, relaxed, and pleasant vibe. And If you as instrumentist don't have this vibe, if you as even a conductor, even I don't know, if you don't have this vibe when you know you need to go and play on a stage, it's futile. It's you did nothing. You can I don't know, you can shred passages because there you can play out of tune, but the main thing is that if you can give that energy, good energy on the people, you'll not care that much on the interpretation anymore. Okay, you did wrong something, is not a problem. go and play the rest of it. Like don't stop and go. Here, if you do something wrong, just let this just finish this playing and go and start a new career, because the music is not for you. This term boccior vocare is meant to feel like this. Okay, let's watch it because I talk too much.
Playing at the same time. The main problems, as he saw them, were that A, he didn't have enough time in the day to compose and perform, and B, no matter how much he composed, he would still primarily be known as a performer. His compromise to this problem meant in part compartmentalization, and this is one of the reasons as to why he never wrote a violin concerto. Even in his violin sonatas, his own instrument doesn't always come to the forefront. Occasionally it takes a back seat. There's a real interplay between the violin and the piano. By the dawn of the new century, Enescu...
Facts. That's why he named sonatas for piano and violin, not violin and piano. How you can met on Beethoven, on Mozart, on, I don't know, or other violin and piano sonatas. It's sonatas for piano and violin. And and there are some passages that are much complicated for piano than for violin. For example, you can take the impromptu concertant. Is okay, like check this out. Like violin and piano. Okay, it's in B flat minor. With all the rhythms, all the notes, and this is not a violin sonata. This is like a piece, normal piece for expressivity. It's French style, and the piano is doing all the all the work here because it's hard. Okay, let's go back here.
Who had finished his studies and was already known as one of the finest young violinists in the world, whose compositions seemed poised to take the world by storm. After success upon success in Paris, which would prove to be his base of operations outside Romania for the rest of his life, his first orchestral suite in C major, Opus 9, was premiered in 1911 by the New York Philharmonic under the baton of the illustrious Gustav Mahler, who was at that point almost dead. But then again, in the big scheme of things, aren't we all? These early pieces were largely informed by an interest in neoclassicism, which predates the same interest from other composers. His second orchestral suite from 1915 predates Sergei Prokofiev's classical symphony by several years. His musicianship seemed to know few bounds. Concert pianist friends would complain that Enescu, who was not a concert pianist by training, had better technique than they did. And he was so at home on the conductor's podium that he was a strong candidate to take over the New York Philharmonic job when Arturo Toscanini resigned in 1936. He'd founded Iași's Symphony Orchestra in 1918 and conducted various other orchestras between 1898 and 1946. Why 1946? We'll get to that in a minute, but if you know your early Cold War history, you're probably going to have a good idea as to why. In January 1923, he'd made his American debut with the Philadelphia Orchestra as the featured composer, conductor, and soloist, because some people exist to make you feel inadequate no matter what you've accomplished. Did I mention he also knew how to play the cello and the organ? He was so good because his memory was as close to perfect as humanly possible. In 1927, he met up with his friend Maurice Ravel, who had just finished work on his second violin sonata. Ravel was a meticulous composer who had been working on the sonata for about 5 years, and
so Enescu had an influence on Ravel, on the style of his violin pieces. Even on the Țigane. Țigane is a piece. YouTube, okay? YouTube is a piece. I don't discriminate the Romani, okay? Good. The piece is pardon me. Okay. It's very fun. This part is very, very amusing. Where is okay. Okay. Back.
And after sight reading the violin part, Enescu played it again from memory. His student, a 10-year-old Yehudi Menuhin, was stunned, but probably not surprised. Like Ravel, Enescu was a meticulous composer whose tendency towards editing and refining his pieces often got in his own way. He said that he had hundreds of years' worth of music stuck in his head, but many of his pieces were still undergoing revisions and edits when
I believe Enescu was a very nice guy. I don't know, but I feel that it was a very nice guy.
He died. Part of this was that he had such a precise imagination for sounds that he wanted his music to be as precisely notated as possible, much like you'd see in a Percy Grainger or a Leopold Godowsky score. Except in Enescu's music, he's trying to wrench orchestral sounds out of chamber ensembles. Performers have noted that Enescu throws a lot of material at you, a lot of information, but it's all necessary to make his music sound like, well, his music. Enescu noted that his music intrigued some and bored others. It didn't sound French or German or anything else, but it didn't sound uniquely foreign to non-Romanians. He also was known for working on several compositional projects at one time, which definitely slowed him down. Enescu belonged firmly in the tradition of musical nationalism, which sought to elevate the folk music of specific peoples through fusing it with the best of the greater Western tradition. This was particularly common in smaller countries or smaller areas of countries, and stuck around even after Romanticism had ended. As we might imagine, Romanian folk tunes and idioms permeate Enescu's work, much as Bartók made use of Hungarian idioms and Grieg the use of Norwegian ones. While he had composed for upwards of 11 years prior to his Opus 1 Romanian poem, premiered when he was 16, it was with this piece that put him on the map as a composer explicitly inspired by Romanian music. He used rhythms inspired by folk singing and melodies inspired by folk fiddle playing with a bunch of chromatic modes. In Enescu's own words, a certain
You can see this thing in his third piano and violin sonata.
wavering between major and minor, which is a common thread between a lot of different folk musics of that part of Europe.
And here, fun fact, I know from what team did Enescu took this team. Okay, so if you are Romanian and watch this, I believe you will feel it. Am un leu și vreau să-l beau, șalalai, la 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 ta 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 te te re de te re de re de re de. He's from the Romanian folk music, and he took it and did Rhapsody, and this is it is what like this it was like it was and it is a national air, like when I say national air, I mean the pieces that the Western and all of the people around the world recognized Romania in that times. I don't know if it's nowadays like the same, but even with the hora staccato, like. And hora mărțișorului. Okay, I don't know it, but the same thing.
In Romania, he's long been loved, not just for writing some of the best Romanian-inspired music the world has ever known, but because he was uniquely devoted to promoting other Romanian composers' music in addition to his own, sometimes in lieu of his own, which didn't really help his reputation, as we'll see later. He was willing to throw his weight around, culturally speaking, and he put his money where his mouth was. He founded the George Enescu National Composition Award, which was funded from his own money between 1913 and 1946. This guaranteed not just money for the winning composer, but also an orchestral performance. He was such an important figure to Romania that not only did he regularly perform for Romania's Queen Elizabeth,
and right now, nowadays, is well known as the international competition George Enescu. That is one time at 2 years. And fun fact, there is a stereotype on a thing that I don't know, I believe it was something bond with a lot of fraud, I believe, and a lot of lying, but it worked. There is a saying that Enescu was Enescu in his mansion at let me search it for you. At his mansion here in Descani. Descani is in my county. I see here on his mansion. On this mansion. Oh, you can see it. Okay, so here on this mansion. That I played here, and he stayed a part of his life here. He had some how is it called, females that clean the house. Some room cleaners, and is saying that he had sex with one of these room cleaners, and that room cleaner was the nationality, it was Jewish, and from a time, and from that this female made a child, and she sold this thing that this was like the heir of Enescu, and the all the and she was recognized as one of her heirs, and she sold the how is it called, the author's date, these things, with this thing with the copyright and all those things, to the Jewish country. And from that time I heard that every time when the Enescu competition, festival, even playing on YouTube, and even playing him, you needed to pay to play it. Of course you need to pay it, but for this competition, the Romanian state would play kind of 2 million, I don't know if it's that much, but 2 million euros per year, per festival, pardon me. Even that Enescu was Romanian, but that child that it's supposed to be had, she basically sold this thing to the Jewish to the Jewish how is it called, state. And look what made it wrong. Like, I can't play a Romanian piece because it's not sub jurisdiction of Romanian. Like, it's absurd. But right now, because it had passed 70 years, I believe it's okay. But you needed to pay a lot to play Enescu, and this is fucked up. Yes. Holy cow. Stay.
Only the Enescu National Composition Award, which was funded from his own money between 1913 and 1946. This guaranteed not just money for the winning composer, but also an orchestral performance. He was such an important figure to Romania that not only did he regularly perform for Romania's Queen Elizabeth, as he was appointed court violinist, but she also wrote poems in German, which he then set to music. Enescu didn't come from a rich background, and as such often found it necessary to turn to performance to help pay the bills. This was another one of the factors that kept him from composing as much as he wanted to. As a result, we're left with only 33 pieces in his mature catalog, but if you're willing to include the student pieces, it then expands to over 300 pieces. Although he disowned many of these, in fact he said that he didn't like anything prior to Opus 6. History has largely left these student pieces alone, unlike the juvenilia of some other composers. However, his aforementioned perfectionism means that despite a low opus number count, there could be many more pieces in the archives that are essentially done that any composer aside from George Enescu would have considered done. He was known for his modesty, preferring to give concerts in chamber or solo settings as opposed to being in front of an orchestra. He was also enthusiastic about presenting music in venues where it was historically unpopular. One time he did an all-Brahms concert in France, which isn't typically known for its love of high Germanicisms. Enescu was unafraid of expressing the highest admiration for Bach, Beethoven, and Wagner, whereas other nationalistic composers might be more reticent to outwardly express an admiration for the composers of another land. What drew him to Romanian folk music in particular, he said, was its ability to wrench maximum emotion through minimal means. Many of Enescu's pieces sound through-composed, that is, without an identifiable form. But he was really a master at obscuring the formal devices that he used. Form was dictated by generative devices linked to the development of motives. He never really ventured into full-fledged atonal expressionism, so he does have tonal elements present, but the tonality that is present isn't form-defining in the same way that, say, a classical composer would modulate to another key to differentiate between sections of a piece. Like César Franck, one of his favorite composers, he loved cyclical structures, where motives became a unifying force in a piece. Although he made a reputation on his Romanian music, he was inspired by a host of other European influences, and he felt that he was typecast for a small group of pieces which were almost too stereotypically Romanian. As he matured, his use of Romanian folk idioms became more nuanced, including his use of a technique for generating endless melody inspired by the doina, a kind of meditative folk song. The rhythmic patterns of this is something that Bela Bartok, in his ethnomusicological analysis, would call a parlando rubato rhythm. This rhythm is characteristically speech-like. It's almost like recitative. Financially, Enescu was rarely in a good place. It seemed like every...
But it's played with notes also. I believe he's spoken about this or not. I didn't hear it. It's like you are speaking it, making notes, and if it wasn't without notes, it was like speaking normally. This is parlato. That's it.
Every time something good would happen, and it seemed like he would be able to spend more time composing and less time performing, something would happen and the economy would tank. First, it was World War I. The economy tanked, and he spent his time behind the front lines playing for the soldiers who had fallen in hospitals. After the war, he had to make up for lost time by embarking on a grueling tour which took him everywhere from the Netherlands to Canada. During World War II, he conducted the premiere of Shostakovich's Leningrad.
And this is sad because he was afraid of planes and he would not go with the plane, even that it saved a lot of time. And guess what? He was going with the cruise. How is it called? The cruise ships on the sea. The main problem is that at a concert there, I don't know if it was in America or it was in Canada, when he went with his violin from Romania to there, and he did some 2 months, or I don't know how much he did on the vase on the cruise. And because he obviously stayed and practiced the violin, of course, even in the cruise, the humidity in the air was salty, and this saltiness, humidity entered in the violin's wood and caused the sound loss. Of course, after you put it on a place that you can empty this salty, watery thing from the wood, it will came back, but it needs time to recover the violin. The violin needs time to recover it. That's why if you go to a cruise, assure that you have a violin that you would risk it playing it on a cruise ship.
Leningrad Symphony. That's the 7th for those of you keeping score at home. And he somehow ingratiated himself to the Soviet Union, which, I mean, hooray for you, I guess. I mean, that's something that a lot of Soviet composers couldn't do. It probably helped matters that he was an outspoken anti-fascist. The war, he had to make up for lost time by embarking on a grueling tour which took him everywhere from the Netherlands to Canada. During World War II, he conducted the premiere of Shostakovich's Leningrad Symphony. That's the 7th for those of you keeping score at home. And he somehow ingratiated himself to the Soviet Union, which, I mean, hooray for you, I guess. I mean, that's something that a lot of Soviet composers couldn't do. It probably helped matters that he was an outspoken anti-fascist. Well, wouldn't you know it, the economy collapsed again when the communist regime took over in the wake of World War II. This time was even worse, as it signaled the end of his National Composition Award. He spent the last decade of his life away from Romania, in exile in France, slipping further and further into poverty because a crippling spinal ailment severely limited his performing. He relied on his conducting to stay active in the musical world, and he played where he could, but this was so limited because not only did he have a bunch of physical ailments, he also had a hearing disorder which prevented him from keeping notes in tune. His wife, whose first husband had been a member of the Romanian royalty, had lost her fortune, and, according to most sources, a large chunk of her sanity as well. The pair were forced to sell most of their belongings, up to and including his violin, in order to keep their tiny, threadbare apartment. Enescu suffered a stroke in July of 1954.
Very sad, and this is very sad.
He died in May 1955, just a few months shy of his 74th birthday. His status as a towering, almost mythological figure in Romanian music remains to this day. Not long after his death, his hometown was renamed for him. Bucharest Symphony Orchestra,
What I said.
their National Conservatory, and an airport in Baku were all named for him.
Even my city, like the airport from my city is named George Enescu. Airport International George Enescu Baku.
And monuments to him dot Bucharest. Although he'd willingly exiled himself after the communist takeover, he was so well known and beloved.
It was fucked up, man. After this communism regime came, and maybe he didn't came back because he know the consequences. He needed to make some things that he didn't wanted, and you can put it here also, making pieces for Soviet Union, making pieces for the regime, for the dictator, for the... It wasn't so pink, the situation. And because he didn't came back, he became as a sort of a deserter, a traitor. And if he would came back to Romania, he would been or executed or maybe put it in a Romanian gulag, or going to the Siberia place, gulag Siberia sort ish. This is fucked up.
That the communist regime didn't try to downplay or deperson him in the same way that the Soviet Union might have done. Enescu
What I said.
was Romanian music in a way that his contemporaries like Bartok or
And I hear these stupid people that are saying, oh, but why did he was buried in France? We needed his body to came in Romania and be here buried. Because of that. Like, it's obvious. And because Romania didn't offer nothing on his career, and didn't offer nothing, and he offered to Romanian state money for building the he offered money building the Romanian Athenaeum. He gave the money building this, and it wasn't cheap. If you go there and see it, it's marvelous. Like, I believe this is gold here. I mean, okay, the Romanian Athenaeum. We can put another things, maybe, I don't know. Okay, this Parliament Palace, it was made in the communism. That is like the second larger structure in the world, I don't know.
Janacek couldn't be for their respective homelands. Both Enescu and Bartok were serious ethnomusicologists at the inception of their fields and were known as performers in addition to their work as composers. But Enescu's reputation suffered in the 1970s and 1980s during the authoritarian regime of Nicolae Ceausescu, not from outright malignancy so much as neglect. The palace which contained Enescu's archives went without heat and fell into disrepair, allegedly because Ceausescu wanted the palace for his own. The music festival which bore his name was left to languish. and the complete critical edition of his works had been started in the 1960s but was soon abandoned. As a result, many of his pieces fell into obscurity in that they were very hard to access, even for those who were interested in getting to them. The Ceausescu regime painted Enescu as a hyper-nationalist and dismissed any other non-Romanian influences, which is simply not historically accurate. Those who dealt with trying to get access to Enescu's material
is not accurate because it wasn't his words. It wasn't the Ceausescu's words. It wasn't the words of Soviet. And because it was on the influence of the West and the East Europe, it was like in a sort of a Cold War, and it was in a Cold War with the West. You need to do as we all do, or no.
During this time recall the Ceausescu government's incompetence, inefficiency, and secrecy. On the other side of the continent, in a malignant twist of irony, the French didn't carry on his legacy either. They considered him a minor pupil.
The cruel reality is that a lot of history from Romania, like the history before like the 11th and 12th century below until the first century after Christ, first and the second, we don't have stable history because many history things was burned or they are in archives in Moscow. There is a stereotype that they are there. Like, do you know that I spoken about Tecuci? That I went and I played there? Well, it was, if you go there, it's a little city, okay, but it's full of mansions, man. Like vintage mansions. Like you went there and are a lot of these mansions. And yes, maybe the communists have demolished some of them, but there if you go, it's like you are feeling in the 19th century. Because there it was like the biggest intellectuals in Romania, and when communism started, all the intellectuals ran from Romania, and all the things that it was there they went erased. It was a county named Tecuci, right now is not anymore, and the intellectuals, we don't know. There are speculations that some of the poets, some of the artists, history, they are not right. This guy what helped making the movie about Enescu. He knew a lot of stories and he knew a lot of things because he was and he's a part of the the ruler there, like co-mayor, I don't know, it's co-mayor or something like that, and he knew a lot of story, and he have evidences, has like papers that says that some things happened, but in the Wikipedia and in the history that is taught in mass media in schools is wrong. We have a poet named Mihai Eminescu. If I search about him, it's a very big poet, and even in the Harvard is is known. He died okay. Okay. He was a student in Vienna at poetry, and also in Berlin. Here it says that he died from maniac, like chronic mania. And this is wrong because I heard about that he died in Tecuci by being hit with a brick in the head and let him like die in the street because he had a lot of informations, and the ruler, or I don't know, he wanted to, because he was a reporter, he wanted this thing to, all the things that are corrupted to be, everything to be right when it comes to like laws and opinions and the liberty of not being in disadvantage as a normal citizen. And he knew some things, and maybe someone paid some two guys to watch him and taking a brick or something like that, hitting in the head, and died. I don't know if in Tecuci. Yes, in Tecuci.
Of French teachers, even though he spent 50 years in Paris, returning to Romania only in the summers, and spending the last decade of his life only in Paris. While the Ceausescu regime shoulders a lot of responsibility for the lack of Enescu awareness in the world, it's not the only factor. Enescu himself was concerned that his legendary status as a performer would outshine his compositions, and to a large extent, his fears were realized. It's not a new phenomenon by any stretch of the imagination. Liszt was complaining about the same thing in the mid-1850s. People don't like someone with two trades, Enescu once noted. This is why he enjoyed the United States. He said that Americans welcomed him as a composer above anything else. According to a 2002 op-ed by pianist Dominic Saunders, link in description, his lack of fame is due to a unique combination of early Cold War politics on one hand, combined with Enescu's longtime reticence and modesty. He didn't want to promote his own compositions, and there was no one left after his death to carry on that work for him. His central composition, which he believed to be his greatest achievement, was his opera Oedipa, which he worked on in spurts between 1912 and 1931, contemporaneously with most of the other pieces that would come to define his reputation. While his music is firmly rooted in a tonal idiom, that is, he used keys in the titles of his pieces in an era that was moving away from them, he was unafraid of experimentation. His final completed work is a chamber symphony, and it's ostensibly in E major, but its tonality only really asserts itself at the very beginning and very end. similar to Alban Berg's Piano Sonata, which is in B minor in much the same fashion. Not to be outdone, Oedipa uses quarter tones, which places it around the same time as Bartók's use of them in The Miraculous Mandarin. Oedipa remains neglected, unjustly so, but singers who have had the opportunity to engage with the music say that it's full of great melodic lines, and they credit Enescu's career as a violinist as the reason why. Enescu modeled his violin playing after the sound of the human voice. Enescu said that his primary concern in any composition was a melodic line, or that of multiple melodic lines superimposed. Thus, while we can say that his compositional career began when he got a piano, it's really his violin playing which influenced his mature style. Interesting harmonies were of no use to him if he didn't have a great melody. In his ensemble works, he was fond of superimposing different iterations of the same melody, which were slightly different, in order to create an effect known as heterophony, which is a common technique in non-Western music, but surprisingly not found very often in Western music. This practice even extends to his orchestrations, with a constant stream of doublings, dovetailing, and intertwining with one another. As far as his use of Romanian folk tunes is concerned, he, like a great many other nationalist composers, absorbed the idioms and styles of these folk tunes without ever quoting a folk tune directly. Enescu, in fact, cautioned against the use of full-throated harmonizations for actual Romanian folk tunes, saying that the lightest harmonization is what a composer should do if they were interested in actually using a real folk tune. Enescu lived well into the dawn of recording technology, and so unlike many great performers of the past, we can actually hear him. We don't have to rely on glowing reviews and concert descriptions. These date from 1941 onwards, so they don't show him at the height of his power, but we can still hear what made his playing unique. He began recording so late because he thought the gramophone was harmful. He thought that it would hold real performers in actual live settings to an unrealistic standard. It encouraged audiences to anticipate perfection while at the same time driving pieces to one standard of interpretation. This, in turn, he feared would push virtuosi towards more daring interpretive choices, as opposed to sticking to what was actually on the page. What we hear in these recordings is evidence of his unusual expressive tendencies. For especially expressive notes, he had a tendency to start flat and then slide up to his goal note through the use of vibrato. He also had a characteristically smooth and silky tone, which was in part caused by the angle of his fingers on the strings, which caused his elbow to flare outwards at a really odd angle. He enjoyed improvisation, likely because of his compositional aptitude, and would be something of a pariah among the historically informed performers of today. This is because he disliked Baroque ornamentation. The way he saw it, if a composer wanted something, they should have written it in the piece. This is of course ahistorical in that we know that Baroque performers were expected to add embellishments and ornamentations when they played a piece. But back then there was no such thing as historically informed performance practice. And also, I personally have a hard time blaming Enescu for this because, I mean, he is right. He is playing what was written. He played Baroque pieces with the same level of intensity and scrutiny which he brought to his own work. This back-to-basics approach, or should I say Bach-to-basics approach, was itself a break from the previous style of this full-throated romanticism, which was even further removed from the tradition which Bach would have
Sorry, I didn't get it funny. Don't judge me.
Actually known and understood as the way his pieces would have been played back then. Enescu's performances of Bach's music are cleaner and more elegant than his immediate predecessors, focusing on the melodic ebbs and flows, even if Bach himself would have taken issue with the fact he wasn't adding ornaments. Violinists have noted that his music for the instrument wasn't just idiomatic, that of course came naturally, but it revels in the tactile experience of playing the thing. There's not much in the way of theoretical analysis of Enescu's works. Enescu himself once admonished composers for writing about music instead of just writing music. Several of his pupils are alive and well, at least as of this filming, and he left behind many edited scores, which give us an insight into how he fingered and phrased and shaped some of the greatest pieces in the violin repertoire. He had a reluctance to give traditional lessons. Pupils have said that he provided musical inspiration more than focusing on the technical details, and sometimes he'd give lessons without ever touching a violin. He also had a love for music from around the world, collaborating with Ravi Shankar's brother Uday in exploring the music of India, and he had attended a gamelan concert in 1931. While not all of these are audible,
there are a lot of influences in our Romanian culture, folk music. There are a lot of influences from Orient. I mean, it's not a lot. There are some influences, because the music is not so like, I don't know. I don't know. It's not like this. It's full of notes that are dissonant. I don't know many pieces like this, but I can give you an example. Like it feels like it's something with a lot of notes and ornaments that you don't meet in the West, or maybe you meet, but it's not so complex. And believe me, this is like stable water what I played. Our style, and I believe in Balkanic place here, style is much more like this.
Influences in Enescu's works, it reveals his desire to embrace musical variety. Music is a language that can reflect, without any pretense, the mental faculties of man and nations, Enescu once said. While his music is distinctly Romanian, his love of music of all styles and his international career gave him a stylistic eclecticism which makes his music unique. We like to put historical figures in neat boxes: composer, performer, conductor, theorist, educator, etc. But Enescu defined these labels and is just now being recognized for the complete musician that he was.
Well, credits to this channel and this guy. Credits. Who is the guy that and this thing was requested by Romanians. Credits to this guy that explained, credits to this channel, and it was a good documentary. I don't know. I believe tomorrow I will stay and I will try to see it all alone. I don't have any energy. I don't know. It's not so complicated than I thought. Right now, what I have to... yeah, I need to do this sonata and another sonata that is romantic sonata, and the Beethoven Violin Concerto Movement 1, and stay and work on the Bachelor. I don't know. And that's it then. Well, it was interesting staying and talking about this stuff. It's interesting. It's very interesting. But tomorrow I have work, and I want to be ready I love staying in the face of the camera. I very love. Tomorrow we will stay and make all this violin sonata. Doing it. And even the Beethoven Lakai Violin Concerto, Movement 1, I want to stay and make it. And after that I need to stay and do also the pieces from Bachelor. And stay and practice them. Okay, for now I know for a thing that I need to play for how can I text? Okay. Okay. I know for a thing that I need to do for the exam in the summer. I need to do like Enescu sonata number 2. Romantic sonata and Beethoven Manda part. It's like first movement, I believe. Beethoven violin concerto part 1. And for the Bachelor I need to do four pieces, one from Baroque, one from classic period, one from romantic period, and one Enescu work. That's why I will choose Enescu sonata number 2, Beethoven violin concerto movement 1. So 2 things I already do. Mozart violin concerto number 3, first part, movement. And I thought I should take a fugue, but I don't think that is a good idea. That's why I will watch and I will stay. They will take a piece that, I mean, a fugue is not that much complicated if I stay and do it. It's not overwhelming. That's I wanted to take the fugue number 2. But maybe if I take something much easier, it's less work for this. Fugue is like, I mean, I can do it. I can do the fugue. It's not a problem. Yes, fugue number 2, Bach. I will think about it. These 2, the Mozart violin concerto I did it, fugue I did it, Beethoven and Enescu sonata I need to do. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your attention. We will see you tomorrow. I will start live streaming from about 3:30 p.m. Romanian GMT, and should start doing the work. Thank you. Have a nice night, have a nice day from where you are watching me, and we will see tomorrow. The repetition is the mother of learning.